Hello, I just wanted to do a little video log what's been going on this year. My wife and my family and myself. Just several things that weigh on my heart. I have a lot to be grateful for this year. As a family, faced a lot of trials, and one of the chief ones in the last month or so, probably about 2 months now, is my wife's health. Her body gets tired very easily. Her hands shake. She gets shaky all over, and then she has to rest. She can't really go to work. She has been to the doctor several times about this, and they've done all kinds of tests. The next one will be an MRI to schedule, and just can't put their finger on what it could be. If you don't know, my wife works with me at an LEC, and so this has affected my work. We serve on an administrative team together with the women's program, so it's meant a heavier load for myself and others at work, kind of a strain on all of us between both home and work, and lots of having to, carry the weight for myself and for the kids of housework. The other thing is we've had a lawsuit against the city of St. Louis this year, and we've had a lot of things happen at NLEC, New Life Evangelistic Center, that have caused added expense. So we've had our water heaters go out, we've had dryers go out, we've had other, building expenses needed for maintenance that have come up right away. We applied for a permit with the city of St. Louis, and that was part of this whole lawsuit process and everything. And as part of that, we've had a lot of extra expense. So one of the things that the city of St. Louis wanted, as far as a permit went, was they wanted architectural plans drawn. They said that they wanted us, with our new permit, to apply for a permit that would fall under 2008 International Building Code guidelines, which would mean things like a sprinkler in every single room. And if you know the NLEC building, it's a 5-story building. It's hundreds of thousands of square feet. It's a big place. Vaulted ceilings. It used to be a YWCA. There's a swimming pool in the basement. Gymnasium attached, courtyard. It's a big place, and so hiring architects to do this work was over $20,000. And so we come to the end of the year with a bill of around $390,000, in addition to all the other just operating expenses and whatnot. So that's a heavy weight. It's a heavy burden. I have a lot of thoughts about what's going on. I guess I'll just get personal and tell you that this morning at about 4 in the morning I woke up and I had like this real aching in my stomach, and just a lot of fear, because I felt like I had an ulcer coming on, just because I was going over so much in my mind, and I couldn't get back to sleep, and really wrestled in prayer, and wrestled between my own thoughts, which were full of a lot of fear and anxiety and anger and resentment and shame and all these different things, and then just putting it in God's hands, and just taking all of this and like it's a problem, and a God-sized problem. So I feel like to God this is not universal in scale. All these things I'm mentioning, they're pretty small compared to a lot of other things going on in the world, but just imagining putting it in God's hands, whatever size it would be, just a small thing, putting it in God's hands, trying to go back to sleep, and finally I just you know, got up and I went and made a cup of coffee, and I went in the other room and I started writing a song, and then started praying and listening to music, and you know, I just turned it over to the Lord, and I found some release for that. That's kind of how I cope these days. One of the things about being in an administrative capacity at an LEC, and then also being a case manager, is that I encounter a lot of sadness and sorrow. Not a day goes by that I don't see someone in tremendous pain, and you know, so as just in self-care, how do I manage that? What do I do? You know, is the real question. How do I not bring this home to my family? And the truth is, last night when I came home, just gotten word about the city's decision not to grant exemptions in our permit case, and I was just really, you know, very sad and angry, and feeling really lonely, and you know, so I tried to tune out, watch some shows on TV and stuff, but you know, just this feeling that kind of borders on discouragement and depression was with me, and the whole thing, you know, it was like a friend of mine from Chicago, wrote on my Facebook status update, "Hey, this is too big for you. Put this in God's hands, and I'll be praying for you." And I just, you know, that was just the word that I needed to hear. You know, which is really true, that the stuff that I carry, from other people's problems to problems in the neighborhood where I work to, you know, universal scale of problems all over the world, are too big for me. You know, they really are. They're too big for me. David in the Psalms said, I've stilled and quieted my soul like a child at its mother's breast. And he talked about how, you know, his thoughts were not on things that were beyond him, and really that's what it's all about. But it's not just about me. It's not just about my thoughts. It's about as a Christian, as a minister, as a reconciler, which is what we are as ambassadors of Christ. There's a sense in which all is not going to be reconciled in the world just because I'm involved in it, and so I have to, in a way, reconcile myself to the fact that, hey, this world is getting more sinful and more painful, even though the light is here, and you know, but Jesus didn't promise that we were going to do it ourselves, that we were going to fix the world's problems, that we were going to create the kingdom of heaven here on earth. And if my agenda is to somehow, you know, clean up St. Louis and end homelessness, and I can't do it all, and that's really not what following Jesus is about. It's about, in a lot of ways, surrendering control. So, first things first. My dog is coming in here jingling. First things first is something I always have to keep in mind, and just on a personal level, what I believe God did in my life before coming down here 5 years ago is help me set things in perspective, and then that allowed me to follow His call down here. Some of those things were that my life was unmanageable, that it was completely out of control, and had been for many years. I'm in recovery, and God gave me 2 years of sobriety in recovery, in good recovery before coming down here. God reconciled my wife and I in our marriage, and he did a work of reconciliation in me and my father's life. First things first, of primary importance to me is recovery and sobriety. So I have to make meetings, work the steps, be involved in the fellowship program. Secondly, my family is of utmost importance to me. So my family's needs come first. My wife, my children, my siblings, my father, my stepmother, the needs of the community, the church where I pastor at NLEC. Those things are there. Then outside of that circle, I'm an advocate within the community, trying to end homelessness, trying to, to build the beloved community. And even though I order these things from my own personal perspective, what I believe is that God is big enough to keep all these things in place. And the order that counts is His creative order in the world. And so the main thing is remaining in God's Spirit and doing God's will. But God's will is not for me to get things out of perspective, to somehow think that I've got to control or maintain everything. There's some pet peeves that I want to talk about. There are expectations that are put on me that there's no way I can live up to. And some of those include, in a lot of ways, being my father's son. You got to know, when I came down here, what I'm known as mostly is Larry Rice's son. And so for people who aren't really close to the family or who know of us, their first question is, are you carrying on the legacy that your father has set? And this happened to me yesterday. There's a noted activist, a man who we really appreciate and love, who came down, and there's a Belgian camera crew there, and they were talking about Michael Brown and events, and he, just kind of there with my father present, kind of cornered me and said, are you going to take on the legacy that your father has? And I'm so glad that you're here. That's the first thing on my mind. And people do that all the time. They're just like, we know you're going to take over for your father. And what bothers me about that is that I feel like God has given a legacy to NLEC, not just to my father, but to NLEC, that I can't hope to in my own strength live up to. There's no way I can do it. It's not about me. And so when people try to make it about me, that really makes me uncomfortable, because as a person in recovery, I'm an inherently selfish person, and so everything's about me all the time, And as an addict, that whole addictive mindset that I can control everything, and it all comes down to my feelings about everything, that is like this temptation that I avoid. But at the same time, I am really pleased to be part of that legacy, and I consider it a gift from God, not something that I deserve, but something that God gave me back after, I had thrown it away and thrown a lot of things away. And so right along with that, however, is this real sense in which the very people that should be neighbors, the very people that should be working together to build a beloved community, do not understand NLEC or my father, don't care to, and in fact have set out to destroy us and then lie about it. And so I run through all the time, the painful memories I have of personal conversations with these people, wherein the hope was that somehow we could come to some agreement, but wherein my words were misinterpreted and twisted, and then I remember attending this service on the street outside the library, where we all got down, and this was being held by the Christ Church Cathedral. We all got down and wiped oil on the street and prayed for our community. This was after the stabbing death. And I got up from that and I left. And the man who wasn't even there wrote this little story online about, am I happy now? That was a question. Are you happy now, Rice? You did this. You brought about this death. He wasn't even at that meeting. And then he made up conversations based on talking to other people at that meeting. And that's the level of vitriol that this man has, toward me personally and toward our place. And there again, I can't handle that. There's no way I can handle the hatred that would want to destroy us. Because in the end, it's not about me. It's about the people that we're trying to serve. It's about a legacy that God has brought about miraculously for the last, 43 years. It's going on 44 years. And that's how we see it. We don't see it. It's not about, Larry Rice. It's not about any one of us or our name or a good name. Because there's too many people to name who've been involved. But it's really about trying to lift up Jesus. And these folks that hate us, they say they've got nothing against any church in downtown. They love all the churches in downtown. They're all about the beloved community. They just tout Christ Church Cathedral and Centenary United Methodist. But they don't even recognize NLEC as a church. All they recognize NLEC as is a detriment to the neighborhood. And in and of myself, I just can't handle that. I really can't. So that's where I just have to go to God daily with that. Fact is, I don't bring about reconciliation. I don't forgive sins. I don't reconcile sinners. God does all of that. And when I don't see it happening as quickly as I want, I have to put that in God's hands too. When I look at all of my efforts and I question them and go, is my being here any good whatsoever, God? All of that goes in God's hands because it's not up to me. So these are some of the things that I'm wrestling with and thinking deeply about. And if you've watched this, thanks for taking the time.